Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today, which also happens to be on Wellness Wednesday. Neil, who is with Protocol for Life Balance, is going to be presenting today on nutrition for immunity. He also has his CCN and DANLA and has been a wonderful asset to our company. And I hope you find him as interesting and beloved as we do. So right now I'm going to turn this over to Neil so that he can educate everyone on how to help with nutrition for immunity. All yours, Neil.
Thanks, Amanda. Hi, everyone. Glad you could join us, and I'll get right into it. First of all, just a little background about me. I'm one of the co-founders of the American Nutrition Association. I'm on the Clinical Nutrition Certification Board. I'm one of the people who designed the protocols and standards for the non-GMO project. So yeah, I have a lot of history. I've also worked with the American Herbal Products Association and other industry organizations. Just a little bit about the company. Protocol for Life Balance is the largest family-owned company in the natural products industry. And we're proud that we can make choices based on family values and not commercial values. Protocol is based on proven bioavailability of products. And here's one example how we tested our magnesium citrate. And we've got over 100 of these kind of studies on different products showing that our products are bioavailable and therefore have a good chance to be effective if you take them. Also, you want products that have good allergen control. We're a peanut-free facility. We identify and separate allergens and avoid cross-contamination. That allows us to sell things that contain soy or milk or other allergens, shellfish, without risk of cross-contamination, and allows people to use these products. It also lets us get certifications for kosher, halal, non-GMO, organic because of the separation of materials. We also test a lot of things. Every ingredient is tested for identity and adulterants, heavy metals, microcontamination. Just so we know what we're using, we retest finished products as well. And we test probiotics for microbiological status. We're actually looking at their genetic identity to make sure we're using the right probiotics, but that also allows us to identify products, any kind of microbes, and tell exactly what it is. And with that in mind, we do full pathogen and contaminant screening in our micro lab as well. So we're looking for E. coli, salmonella, listeria, all that kind of thing. And we do pesticide testing. This is the last thing I'm going to say about the company before I get more into the topic, but we're probably the only supplement company who is routinely testing raw materials for pesticide contaminants and qualifying also the organic materials to make sure they do not have pesticides. And I know this year we've rejected at least 2 or 3 organic materials that came in and we found pesticides on them. But they're certified organic materials that other companies would probably just manufacture with. So we go to a great degree to make sure our products are safe for people to use and are exactly what's on the label. And we even develop and share our methods with other groups. This was the AOAC, which is the Analytical Chemists organization that the FDA and Health Canada use to set standards for testing. So we actually work with the AOAC to develop the methods that are used by industry. So enough about our company. Let's talk about our immune systems. There's so many challenges to our immune systems every day. One thing is the common cold, the rhinovirus, and there are no effective treatments to prevent colds and rhinovirus infections. The treatments that we have are symptomatic, and they only are between 15 and 25% effective at best at controlling symptoms, but they don't get rid of the virus. Antibiotics do not work on viruses. They are antibacterial, not antivirus. And if you take the flu drugs, which are actually very controversial, they only reduce the duration of symptoms. They don't prevent them. So let's say you were going to be sick for 12 days, maybe it's going to be 10 and a half or 11 days instead of 12 days. And you have to take them within the first 24 hours of symptoms. And the evidence behind them is very, very weak that they even work at all. So there's two basic parts of our immune system that you should be aware of. There's innate or non-specific immunity, and there's adaptive or specific immunity. And they're different. Non-specific immunity is like you have a bunch of military scouts who are armed, and they're going to take out the enemy if they encounter it. If they run into too many of the enemy forces, then they're going to call for reinforcements. So there's a delay and there's an adaptation. And that's the second type of immunity. So the first one does not depend on antigens, on recognizing specific things in the virus, bacteria, whatever, that the immune system reacts to. You get an immediate maximum response. There is no memory of what that immune system did to fight those invaders. It just knocks them out and they're done. So that's a very quick and very efficient. Now, if you need more, then you have the specific or adaptive immunity. Then the immune system learns to recognize antigens and starts reacting to specific substances, typically proteins, that are specific to a virus or a species of virus, that kind of thing. There is a delay and there is memory of what it encountered. So, for example, people who were exposed to COVID, if they knocked it out with their non-specific or innate immunity, they're not going to show that they have antibodies because they did not need that secondary response. Their immune system was strong enough to get rid of it immediately. If they did not get rid of it immediately and it lingered for days or longer, then they started developing the antibodies to the antigens. And so now there's an immune memory. If you start testing serum and things like that, or looking for, does the body have these antibodies, it takes that delay and that longer response for that to occur. So the non-specific innate immunity is hardwired to respond rapidly. Its main purpose is to prevent the spread and movement of foreign pathogens. Non-specific immunity includes physical barriers, our skin, our mucous membranes, the cellular protection with our immune cells. Even stomach acid serves as a physical barrier. So the adaptive immunity is the second line of defense, and it works against non-self pathogens. What that means, it does not work against autoimmune problems. And there's the T cells, B cells, and antibodies that react to specific pathogens or organisms. Now, what's very important is that the nutrient status of the host, of the person who is infected, affects the genetic expression of viruses. How do viruses act in the body, and why do they do that? And it turns out there's a nutritional component. So a well-nourished body inhibits the ability of the virus to freely replicate and thrive. The virus is actually sensing how well-nourished that person is to determine how aggressive to be in that person. And if you think of what happens in nature, where predators might attack a herd, and the herd they're attacking, they're not attacking the prime, young, strong males. They're attacking the old, the young, the weak, the sick. They're what they call it is culling, C-U-L-L-I-N-G, culling the herd of the weak and the sick, and the strong survive. these viruses are actually doing the same thing in our body. They're determining how weak we are to determine how aggressive they should be. So malnutrition increases the risk of infectious disease, increases the infection rate, increases the rate of mortality or death. And this has been known on vitamin A for probably close to 100 years, that there's an association of vitamin A deficiency and development of more severe infections. And this was long thought to be the result of an impaired immune response, and in part, that is true. But it turns out that both the host and the pathogen, the virus or other pathogen, respond to the nutritional status of the host. How does it do that? There's changes in their genomes. Their gene expression changes, so you have mutations and more aggressive viruses if they sense that there are nutrients missing in that person. If the cells are weak, sending signals of weakness because of nutritional deficiencies. And it was not well understood, but more and more evidence comes out that it's related to oxidative stress in the host. So we looked at vitamin A. Here's selenium, another antioxidant. In an animal study, mice who were selenium deficient were more susceptible to infection with viruses, also more likely to get severe pneumonia, even when infected with a mild strain of virus. And the same thing happened with vitamin E deficient mice. This data led to the conclusion oxidative stress is a common mechanism for the way viruses act in our bodies and the way they become more aggressive and more efficient at attacking us if we don't get the right nutrients. So, take a multivitamin, get your nutrients, get your antioxidants, and that will be beneficial. So the importance of nutrition for the host, the person who is exposed to these things, is to optimize our immune response, but also prevent the genetic changes in the virus that increase their ability to make us sick. So let's look at some specific nutrients or ingredients that can support our immune systems. And this is from a review study about 2 years ago. The role of nutrition plays in supporting immune system is well established. Vitamins, including A, B complex, C, D, E, folate, trace elements, which are minerals, and omega-3 fatty acids, they all play important roles in the immune system, and inadequate intake and low status of these nutrients is fairly widespread. Now, there are also botanicals or herbals people use for immunity. One of them that's very popular is andrographis. Andrographis has often been described as the echinacea of Asia, where echinacea is an American herb, and andrographis is the herb that's been used in that type of setting, that type of usage in China, India, Southeast Asia, parts of Siberia, Central Asia. The active constituents are andrographolides, which help to keep the immune system healthy and balanced. They enhance both innate and adaptive immunity, which is good. So they're helping regulate innate immunity, but they also work on the antigen-specific adaptive immunity. And they affect the immune system's production of immune cells, the interferons, interleukins, T cells, etc. So the body will make an appropriate amount for what's happening. And by modulating, we're talking about not making an over-aggressive immune response, which is also important. You don't want too many symptoms that are not appropriate for what's happening in your body. So in animal models, and they have similar structures to us in the lungs, et cetera, we're seeing that in the bronchial and lung mucus secretions, Andrographoloids help maintain their health and support the normal functions of the immune cells. In a clinical validation with humans, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial, patients taking for 5 days a week for 3 months remained healthier than volunteers getting a placebo. And here's the natural kinetics, or kind of like pharmacokinetics, if you're familiar with those medical terms, showing the absorption of our product is very rapid. So it is an effective product to support immune function, seasonal wellness. Now, large doses of andrographis tend to cause GI effects. They're probably related to them being kind of bitter compounds. And it's not recommended during pregnancy or lactation. So andrographis is a very useful botanical. Another one with kind of a similar name is ashwagandha, another A starting botanical. It's a tonic or adaptogen. It has multiple non-specific actions that counteract the effects of stress and promote wellness. That is the definition of an adaptogen. And a lot of the botanicals that we use for immunity are adaptogens. They're in that category. They have multiple non-specific actions to counteract stresses and promote wellness. And of course, illness is going to produce certain stresses in the body that need to be managed in order to avoid negative side effects. So ashwagandha is an herb used extensively in Ayurvedic tradition in India. It also helps support the immune system as well as adapt to stresses. The withanolides are the main active compounds. They've been studied. They work on the GABA receptor system. So they work on calmness, which is why they work against stress. The GABA is an amino acid that we use in our bodies to help be calm. It helps regulate the immune response and helps reduce oxidative stress. And remember how I pointed out oxidative stress is a key signal for viruses to determine how to act in our bodies. So reducing oxidative stress tends to reduce the potential danger of viruses. And the withanolides, the active ingredients in ashwagandha, are very similar to the constituents of Panax ginseng called ginsenosides. And you're probably familiar with them also as being anti-stress and helping to control a lot of things in the body as adaptogens. And a significant modulation of immune reactivity was observed in animal models, which means that it modulates immunity. It makes the immune system act appropriately and not over aggressively, which causes unpleasant symptoms. You do not want an over aggressive immune system that is causing too much mucus and congestion and inflammation and all the other things that are part of the immune response. You want those responses to be measured and appropriate, and ashwagandha as an adaptogen helps to do exactly that. And so it regulates innate immunity as well as the neurologic pathways associated with stress, and helps with macrophages, which are immune cells. And supporting our normal defense mechanisms, it does things like enhance nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide is an oxidative compound that can be used as a tool, a demolition tool, or a weapon by the immune system. It activates macrophages, which are immune cells, like white blood cells. It affects the production of white blood cells, and it helps with immunity in the extracellular fluids in the circulation. And for a clinical validation, people who took 300 milligrams of ashwagandha extract twice a day observed improvement in fatigue compared to baseline and placebo. Their ability to cope with stress was improved, and their quality of life was improved in a 12-week study. And here's a diagram from that study showing how there was a significant improvement in stress levels at weeks 4 and 12. 0.05 is considered significant. This is way stronger, more robust study than that. The results are much clearer. And this is our label for that product. You take 1 capsule 2 to 3 times a day or as directed by the practitioner. It helps you adapt to physical and emotional stresses and support healthy immune function. Now we have 2 products that are labeled as abiotic. There are 2 variations. This is the original abiotic, which contains the allicin stabilized garlic extracts, and it has elderberry concentrate. Excuse me. And stabilized allicin can be measured in the breath, and these are soft gels that are enteric coated to protect these delicate compounds. So we have 2 formulas, the original abiotic on the left and the abiotic immune plus on the right. They're slightly different formulas, and I actually have a comparison, more direct comparison on the next slide. But you could see there's similar ingredients. They both have oregano oil, garlic extract, olive leaf extract, and the immune enhancer from larch. One difference is there's elderberry on the one on the left and rosemary oil. On the right, we have vitamins C, D, and zinc, the mineral, in that formula. There's some other differences, though. The garlic extracts used are different in these. The abiotic immune plus uses a straight garlic powder, where the one on the left has the allicin, which is the antiseptic substance that's produced in fresh garlic and is very difficult to stabilize. We've got the elderberry on the left that's not on the right, but the vitamins, C and D, and the zinc are in the formula on the right, which has a stronger olive leaf extract, a stronger oil of oregano as well. So they're both good formulas. If you're taking a multivitamin, you might not think you need extra C or D or zinc, but a lot of people are not taking multivitamins or taking fairly weak multivitamins, such as gummies, and they might benefit by having the extra C, D, and zinc in there as well. There's also a different basic organic extra virgin olive oil in the abiotic immune plus versus rice bran oil in the abiotic CF. They're both good formulas. They're slightly different for different purposes. If you take either one, you can't go wrong. If you bite open the capsules, which we don't generally recommend, but some people do, it tastes kind of like a strong Italian meal with the oregano and garlic. But it's enteric coated. You don't taste it a lot if you swallow it. You don't tend to burp it up either. And it does protect the allicin in the garlic and some of the other things like garlic from burping up or being tasted after you swallow it. Another really interesting and unique product is the Micelle Immune Plus. And you've probably all heard of the oriental or medicinal or therapeutic mushroom type blends. We've got the mushroom blends from organic mycelium, which is the root material of a mushroom. That's where they produce these compounds. So we have an organic mushroom blend containing 8 of these mushrooms that are carefully selected and are standardized. We also have a standardized astragalus root extract, and it's very unusual to find standardized astragalus. Most astragalus products are not standardized. So we're blending these 8 super mushrooms with their bioactive materials like beta glucans that support immune response, and astragalus, as you know, will help with complementing immune supporting properties of these mushrooms. So putting the mushrooms and astragalus together is a very interesting and effective way to enhance the immunity and balance immunity. The high 1,3 beta glucan content from the mushrooms is an important part of this formula. Astragalus root also has benefits on immunity. Now, we mentioned oxidative stress as a key signal for viruses and for the immune system, and the black elderberry, or Sambucus nigra, is the herb that's been used very, very popular over the last 2 years to provide protection against oxidative stress. It contains vitamins A and C and anthocyanins, all potent free radical scavengers to reduce oxidative stress. So this is a liquid. It actually tastes good. I actually had some in my smoothie yesterday. I put a squirt in my smoothie when I make that to get some of this elderberry. It's a water extraction of black elderberry. It's got the antioxidant type compounds, the free radical fighting compounds like anthocyanins, flavonoids, phenolic acids, etc. And it's a pretty clean product. It's not sweetened or anything, so I kind of like that when I add it to my smoothie. I don't tend to add sweeteners because I have fruits in there and stuff. And again, the plasma anthocyanin concentration that we've shown in a bioavailability study, when you're looking at the area under the curve, you're looking at the mean of 4 subjects, and it's the 3 different types of polyphenols that we're measuring here. And it does show a nice absorption curve and a nice area under the curve that shows that it not only gets in the system, but it sustains for hours. So that's all good. Another product that's very good is the Allerol, and that's used for environmental and seasonal changes. It contains vitamins, minerals, and botanicals. So the main ingredients are the quercetin, which is a bioflavonoid. It's something that you will get in red onions. You'll get them in apples. And if you recognize those as having some relation to immunity and folklore, the quercetin is part of their composition that's responsible for that. We have the bromelain, which is the pineapple enzyme that digests protein, and vitamin C to help with respiratory structures, functions, and the body's immune response. We include some B vitamins, zinc, magnesium, and licorice root. Licorice root, of course, is an adaptogen. In low doses, it supports the adrenal gland. Vitamin B5 is very important for this. There's actually the B5 or pantothenic acid accumulates in the adrenal gland more than other organs in the body. And it's used to support immune functions and reduce stress. Quercetin is a non-citrus bioflavonoid that helps with free radical fighting. Bromelain supports an immune response because it works against proteins. And of course, adrenal stress is something that you want to control. And supplementation with quercetin does help with significant support of a healthy immune response during pollen season is one example. So it shows you that quercetin has a role in immunity and in immune response. And also looking at nettle extract, and this is nettle leaf extract. The nettle root extract is used for prostate. Nettle leaf extract is used for respiratory support. So, and again, in a randomized double-blind clinical trial, supplementation with 300 milligrams of nettle extract twice a day for a week reduced the histamine and mucus production in the upper respiratory tract compared with placebo during these challenging seasons. Another product which is interesting, and I'm sure everyone's heard of silver. but this is an unusual type of silver. This is a Aquasol silver supplement. It has 10 parts per million of silver. It circulates longer in the body, but does not accumulate in the body. And that's a very important factor. So it's a biologically superior silver. It comes in a liquid where you could spray it. It's different from the ionic or colloidal silver. Those types of silver tend to form compounds in the stomach and become inactive very rapidly. This is a type of silver that's had rigorous scientific review. There are versions of it that are approved by the FDA as for drug claims and medical device claims. It's colorless and odorless. And because it's a hydrosol or aquasol, it is a different physical form. It's actually coated with silver, which gives it a double action. It's about the same size as a virus, so it can react with things of that size, of a very tiny, tiny size in the body. And it has an optimal size and molecular shape that helps it work on physical immunity. It stays readily in solution, circulates until it's excreted, which takes up to 2 days. Now, we know that some people who make their own silver products have gotten this argyria condition, which turns the skin a bluish purple color that cannot be reversed. We all look like we're in Blue Man Group if we turn into that. And even at 200 times the serving level, this type of silver has been shown that it will not accumulate in the body, tested at a nanogram per microgram of tissue. So we looked very carefully at this, and this is the only kind of silver we found that had this type of safety data, that it does not accumulate in the body. Also, that it lasts longer and that it has unique qualities because of its tiny silver particle coated with silver. So it's a patented technology that's different from other silvers. It has had the most rigorous scientific review of any silver product. The elemental silver is 10 parts per million in purified water. It's non-ionic, so it does not form compounds that make it rapidly ineffective in the stomach. And it is safe. It does not accumulate in the body. And I have a couple more things to discuss before we conclude. One is the cordyceps, which is a fungus, kind of a mushroom type compound, but it grows in caterpillars that has activities, free radical scavenging and supporting immunity. It's in capsules that you would take. This is something that's been very popular over the last year or two also for immunity. Natural Medicine's database says it's been used safely in higher doses. And a study on the bottom shows that it works on cytokine release, nitric oxide production, and cytokine activation that are all cell signaling pathways affected by cordyceps. So it works on the immune response and the attack and the way the body is doing this, but it does that in a controlled manner. And we have the C1000 plus zinc 15. This is one of our newest products. We've simply combined 15 milligrams of zinc with 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. And we're using the Albion, the real amino acid chelate system, zinc bisglycinate, which is truly reacted together for better bioavailability compared to other forms of supplemental zinc. And I believe this is the last item we have to talk about, serrapeptase. Serrapeptase is an enzyme that digests protein. It's absorbed intact. It supports healthy immune function and normal body healing, and it helps maintain normal mucus secretions in the respiratory tract. And you just take 1 capsule a day on an empty stomach for up to 30 days. That is the typical recommendation for this. So it protects respiratory health, which has been so important over the last many months that we've been dealing with these issues. And we have boswellia, which is also known as frankincense. I'm sure you're all familiar with frankincense as a incense, but it's also used as an extract internally, has been used for many years by Ayurvedic herbalists. We've put it in a soft gel with MCT oil to make it absorb better. MCT oil absorbs about as well as alcohol, does not require pancreatic enzymes or bile from the gallbladder to absorb. So this kind of makes it absorb better, and which also makes it gentler on the GI tract. It affects immune functions and maintaining healthy tissues. So those are really the benefits of boswellia. So boswellia or frankincense, do not take the essential oil. We make a boswellia essential oil. It does not have the same properties, the boswellic acids, that are in the extract from the botanical itself. So the essential oil is different. Don't assume it's going to do the same thing. Same with turmeric oil. So with that, I'm going to turn this back to the folks at Evolving Nutrition, and I do thank you for joining us today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really
Sure.
appreciate your time, Neil. I'm sure everyone found this as interesting as I did. So thank you. And do any of you guys have questions right now that Neil could answer for you? If so, please type them into the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask him directly. I always feel like we need to play the Jeopardy hold music during this time.
Why not?
Okay, no questions. Well, then next time we hold another webinar, we will make sure we let you know. And thank you again, Neil. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everyone.